so good in that shirt. Makes your eyes pop.
Thank you. I'm recording now.
Oh.
Appreciate you. Julia hyping me up. All right, what's up, guys? We're back. KSM Trading. Kyle here. It is January 18th, and I'm just going to go over the plays that I called out inside our Discord channel. The 15th to the 16th, and then even yesterday as well. So what we had was CPI, we had inflation, we had news, we have Trump coming into office, we have so many things with the market that is just fluctuating like crazy. So one thing that I wanted to touch on was like I stuck to the bigger stocks. Like we're looking at MSTR because Bitcoin is having a huge surge. Crypto's going crazy lately. We've got Tesla because it's Tesla. It's never going away. With Trump being in office, Elon's going to get a lot of exposure. A lot of things are always happening with Tesla. And then also I checked out Adobe because I liked the chart. I liked the way it looked. And so I'm going to go over MSTR, Tesla, and Adobe plays that we had. So there were more plays called out in the chat. A lot of people were eating, but I just wanted to go over these because I like the setups and I want to talk about it. So first things first is Tesla. Okay, so what happened with Tesla is, let me make this open. This was on the 16th. We had a huge drop down, right? Bearish, 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 bearish. And I started entering some calls here. And the biggest thing was me trying to see one, potentially filling this gap on the way back up. And it was hitting huge support levels. So I figured Tesla was going to come back up. It was a pretty choppy day, right? I entered here, came pretty close to my stop loss. Then it bounced off another support level here. And I did see an inverse head and shoulders start to form. The only thing that was scaring me was that we were getting closer to market close. So I ended up holding these calls overnight. And overnight, extended hours, it started creeping up and up and up. And in the morning, to give you guys an idea, like I was down 40% on these calls when the market closed. Okay. In the morning, I was up my 40%. So I was break even. And then a little bit more. I had about a 10%, 15% gain on these calls. Tesla did end up going much higher that day, about another $10, $15 run. But with these swing trades, I had expiration date of the following day. Like this day was my expiration date. I didn't want to chance it because in the morning, you know how volatile stocks can be. And if you don't, in the morning, the first hour of the market is when you have the most fluctuation because you have orders coming in from the day prior and orders coming in from that morning. People are trying to get all in before the market opens for either getting in at the cheapest price or selling it at the highest price because they think it may go lower or higher, right? It just kind of depends on what they're looking at. So for me, I kind of did the same thing with Tesla. I was like, all right, if it opens a high, I'm just going to get out because one, I recovered my 40% loss and I got a little bit on top, right? So ended up being a win-win for me. Everybody in the chat ended up making money as well. So this was the first play. It was Tesla, great calls. And there was another play, Tesla, the day prior, right here, that we caught. And it was a pretty simple play for me because I saw an easy reversal. But what happened was it was the first hour of the market, right? So here's 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard. Here's 7:30 a.m. right here. And I saw an easy reversal. So I said, called out to the chat. I said, guys, we want Tesla puts. We're going to hold it today and see where we can take it down to. We took it all the way down from 418 down to 413, which $5 on Tesla is a big play. Those options fluctuate like crazy. We ended up with, what was it? About a 20% gain just from these $5. So for me specifically, it's an extra $300, $315. Everybody in the chat also made money on these puts. This was a much harder day in the market because everybody thought it was going to come down based on the big gap up from the morning, right? We have this huge gap up. It came higher. And these are the puts that I called because it was hitting a key resistance. A few other reasons as well. We were overextended from the VWAP. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about and you need more direction and need more help on trading, I provide one-on-one lessons, classes, And then we're also explaining and having a little education university inside of our Discord channel as well. So join our Discord, KSM Trading. Instagram is KSM Trading 25. And if you guys need more help, we're happy to help. But to get back to it, took it from the top, took it all the way down. The biggest thing that I was looking at was seeing how it's going to bounce on VWAP. And we could see that it did bounce up, came back down, bounced up, and it was starting to get really choppy on VWAP. So we took our gains, we got out, we got a nice 20% in about, what is that, 15 minutes? That's not bad at all. $300 in 15 minutes. You guys do the math. Some people aren't even making $20 an hour. We just made 300 in about 15 minutes, right? So Tesla puts, eating on Tesla calls, or eating on playing it up and down, because we can play stocks up and down and still make money either way. That is the power of options, why I love trading options. The next play I want to go over is Adobe. Okay, Adobe was bought. I don't have it marked on here, but we did buy Adobe on the 15th. We bought Adobe on the 15th here, and it was a 470 call option. It was trading at about $415, $416 when we called it out. The reason why we called 470 was when we look at options, sometimes the spreads are a little crazy depending on the volume that people buy these options. So when I was looking at the options, when I was calling it out, the 470 calls made the most sense because it had the most volume being traded and just had the most action for those specific options. So this way, I knew that if we had to get out, we would have there would be enough volatility in those options itself to get out or in as fast as possible. So this was a swing trade. We held this overnight. We ended up going from 418, 417 area all the way up and took that to 428, 427. Now, to give you an idea, remember I called the 470 calls. When I call out an option that has a strike price of 470, but the stock is at 430, how did I make money? As long as I got in, let's say here, because we did at 417, it went from 417 to 430. So those 470 call options that we called out, their premium price that we bought them at was, let's say, at $1.50. And as this stock went up $10, the premium prices on these contracts increased in value. So as each dollar the stock went up, the premium value went up maybe $50 to $100. So on these specific Adobe calls, we ended up making 70%. For me, it was about $500. So not a bad play when the stock's only moving $10 and I'm up $500. This was one day we held this trade. We had a great pop, and then we could see that next day we did increase higher. So we went from 430, right, close low at 425. We came all the way to 435 and then came all the way back down to 426 and just started kind of consolidating. So for me, I'm happy with taking this win. It's a $10 gain. Everybody in the chat ate on Adobe. Overall, Tesla calls, Tesla puts, Adobe calls, great call outs. And then the next play I want to go over was MSTR, because I knew Bitcoin was going crazy. Everybody was talking about XRP the last week. I figured MSTR, why not get into it? So let's check it out. MSTR, let me show you what I was looking at to see where and why we entered these calls. Okay. So if you guys, like I said, if you guys were to get classes with me, you would understand how I had this green check mark match up with 50% of the Fibonacci. And that's exactly where the price point came to. It's like I'm a wizard, right? It's crazy. This stock followed exactly what I thought it was going to happen. So if we come to the daily chart, which is what we're looking at, let's get rid of some of these things on here. What I saw was a big inverse head and shoulders starting to form, right? If we look at it, maybe at the hour, it'd be a little bit easier to see. But check this out. So I saw this happening here, here, here. If you guys don't know patterns, again, that is something that I teach, but a strong bullish pattern is an inverse head and shoulders, right? Inverse head and shoulders, we have the head here, shoulder here, shoulder here. What that means is we have a lower low that then broke structure, change of character to the high side, creating a higher low, higher high, etc. So I figured that MSTR was not done going up because it had more of that move to continue. So what happened was I called out, let's see here. This was on January 14th. We had two call outs of options. So this was our first one, January 14th. If we look at the 15-minute candle, this is when I was looking for entry right here. This is a beautiful play. I took this just so you guys that are visual learners right here. We took these calls about right here and we did exit at the top. It was a perfect call out. We took 50% gains, and I think I sold it down here. Yeah, my other MSTR call was much larger, and I'll show you that one. But this one, we had MSTR doesn't need to move a lot for you to make a lot. So MSTR came down, right? We had a gap up in the morning, came back down, almost filled that gap, but we did reach these order blocks on prior time frames. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can teach you. But continuing, we did bounce off of this support. We had a confirmation to the upside, so I entered calls, called out calls to the chat, and we took that up from about 337 to 345, almost a $10 move. And in the chat, MSTR, like I said, we had a 50% gain, over $400 profits. MSTR was killing it. What happened was it came up the whole rest of the day. Insane the amount of just power on this thing. When it goes, it goes. But be careful because look at right here at the end of the day, it dropped hard all the way back to where we first entered. So MSTR, we took our gains. And then the next MSTR was the 16th. And this was called out at 10:35. So yeah, just right about here. Inside of here is when we called it out. We've got the long game right here. And what happened was same kind of move that we saw prior that I just showed you. And same thing, right? So we got the opening of the market here. We came up, came down, came back up, and then we almost crossed this level here, showing us that we wanted to go higher. We came back down, bounced off of this support, and I called out calls to say, guys, MSTR's been cooking, Bitcoin's been cooking. Let's take this all the way up. And we took it from 360 all the way to 370, another $10 move. But the way that these moved so fast, straight up, was that we had 365 calls, right? So because they moved up right away, the option value increased higher. Sometimes when the options go like this, right, it comes up, sideways, down, up, sideways, and then goes up. The value of the option isn't as high as if it just goes straight up like this, right? Because the momentum's going crazy. Everybody's getting in, increases the value a lot stronger and a lot faster. So I told the chat, say, guys, let's get out around the top of this candle. And that happened right here. We popped up. And overall, MSTR calls, we made 180% on these calls. We absolutely ate 180%. That was a $1,200 gain for me. huge move in the market going up. We sold, we got out, and look at this. The very next day, this thing jumped up another almost $20 from 370 to 400. $30 move. If I would have held on to that, I don't even want to do the math. I think I would have made an extra $6,000. Right. So MSTR is a crazy move, is a crazy stock in general. But I wanted to go over those moves so you guys can kind of see what I was looking at and what we did and why we did it. Going into the next week of January 21st, we have the president being inaugurated. We have Martin Luther King Jr. We have a lot of things happening in the stock week. We have earnings happening as well. So I'm going to be creating a watch list for my Discord. I actually called out plays on Friday because I wanted to get in on earnings plays that are happening Tuesday morning. So we're in an earning play as well. Since you guys can't even get in it, I'll just tell you what we're in. I am in Intel because we had a sharp move up with the news letting us know. Let's see if it says it here or not. Okay, no, it doesn't. But Intel is potentially being acquired by a larger company, 100% of it. If that's the case, Intel can skyrocket up, and earnings are on Tuesday. So we could have a huge shift in this stock. If we look at the overall stock, look at this. We made a huge double bottom here, which as a trader, this is a nice pattern that we want to see, right? We have a bottom here, super simple. We have a nice double bottom here. And then also, even inside of this double bottom, it happened here as well. We had one bottom here, popped up, one bottom here, popped up. I think this move can go higher into the $25 range. If this does hit $25, our option contracts were super cheap. So we could get in, I think we got in around $24 a share, got a lot more shares, and we can probably get out at about $1.50. So that's over 100% on this play that we can make. That's just the upside potential. Downside potential, low risk because it's only $24 a stock, or because it's only $24 an option. I told you guys, hey, don't go too heavy, but go nice enough to where if you 3x it, 4x it, it's going to be a nice return. But if you lose it, you can afford to lose it, right? Every play, especially playing earnings, it's a little bit more riskier, but the risk to reward is definitely worth it as long as your risk is not large, right? And then got everybody in the chat. I'll tell you what I was looking at. I called out Wayfair as well, and Wayfair I believe is up 20% after we called out on Friday. I like Wayfair a lot because Wayfair stays within inside of its ranges and respects technicals beautifully. As you can see right here, we have a nice wedge being formed on Wayfair, which tells us that the next potential high can be somewhere around $55 all the way to maybe $63. So we're going to be watching this one carefully. But if we also look at the type of pattern, guys, I'm finding these everywhere. We have a huge inverse head and shoulders. I love catching this move on this shoulder and potentially taking it to this zone here or even breaking out of it and going higher. It really depends. I think it's probably going to come to about here. And to be honest, guys, with Wayfair right now being up 20%, and if we zoom in, right? Look at this. We are in this sucker way down here at almost 44. I think we got into like 44, like 44.50, right? I think I bought these calls, called them out about right here, $44.43. And we're up 20% already. So if this move does continue to go higher all the way up to that $55 range, I mean, guys, look at the potential we have on this call out all the way to here. That is a $10 move on these call options, which could be a huge $1,000 gainer at least. I don't even know how much money I put into this one, but again, I think the stop loss for us would be close to about $42. So for it to go down $2 and up $10, I will take that all day, right? And yeah, so Wayfair, Intel, I think are big plays. I'm going to be looking at more plays as well to give you guys because Monday we have off with Inauguration Day and Martin Luther King Jr. Day. As always, we'll probably be trading SPX or SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, guys. Microsoft was another one we called out, and that was a huge play. That one kept continuing up, but we got out with us a nice $340 profit as well. And you guys all caught this move with me. This is when I called it out on Microsoft. Right here, again on that shoulder right there. Now we did come down a little farther, right? That's okay because that next day skyrocketed up. We bought in at 414, got out at about 424, took our profit and got out. Beautiful play on Microsoft. Beautiful play on Microsoft. I believe we had, about $350, $400 gain on Microsoft. So, guys, we're eating on Tesla, Microsoft's, Adobe, MSTR, S&P 500, Nvidia, Boeing. We ate on Roku. We are waiting on UPS. We ate on Lockheed Martin. We're still in. We're doing great. Proud of you guys being in the chat. Just something I wanted to go over was all these plays that we did go over and the ones that we did call out, why I called them out. And then this way you guys can see what I was looking at. And then now we're forward looking into the future and you can see why I chose Wayfair and Intel and potentially some more plays after I look around the market for the weekend. So hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, KSM trading to the moon. Let's go. And I'll see you guys next week.